This bites. Your commercial's stupid, you're a no-talent hack, and your donuts are stale. I'm out of here. Fast, fast, fast.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. I've got my main man, Perch, here with me from the Comics by Perch podcast. How you doing, Perch?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's good to talk to you.
Well, I'm glad to talk to you. Obviously, you've been busy lately, but it's good to have you back on the channel.
Yeah.
You read Shadow Man #1 this week, correct?
I did, yeah.
So I got to the end of the issue, and people that saw the review, I was a little surprised. Like, I just realized that was a complete story. Certainly, the major story is going to keep going on, but within there, you got introduced to the situation. It was resolved all in one comic book issue. We don't see that a lot now, Perch. I think most things we can admit are being written for the trades, for the omnibus in some cases. And I think trades are really the future of comic books. I think we're going to have periodicals, floppies still coming out, but trades are really the future. And a lot of these stories are being written with trades in mind.
Yeah, that's true.
So one of the things that we've talked about here and we talk about other places is DC, Marvel, and really the entire comic book publishers. They need to up their trade game. There's an article over on Bleeding Cool where people were kind of showing off some of the trade collections and some of the weird things that these publishers are doing. Manga is not immune. We'll see some of those too. But I wanted to bring these pictures up, kind of talk to you about them, and then we can talk about some other bigger scale issues with trades going on. So here's the first one. We've got a Batman No Man's Land collection. This is ridiculous. How does this happen?
Well, stupid people is your answer there. No, or people who don't care, or people who don't care and are stupid. One of those. I saw this Bleeding Cool article as well. These are painful pictures. A lot of people may not know. I went to Barnes and Noble about a month and a half ago. I don't know, and took video of this exact problem. And kind of went through how stupid and how terrible it is. And in particular, you're right. Manga isn't immune. It's much better off. And I think you'll show some pictures there. But the Western comics, the North American DC and Marvel are an absolute disaster where this is concerned. And I'm just glad that the Rich was able to, watch my video and do an article on this.
Absolutely. And they're hilarious to look at. And I do appreciate him consolidating the pictures so we could talk about it here.
Yeah, for sure.
We start out with Batman's No Man's Land. We work over to this Legion.
I mean, what
of these things is not like the other? Why is it so enormous in the middle?
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand this at all. It's funny because even I doubt your listeners could hear it, but even just going through this painful trade dress, this terrible design. My dog is now barking like crazy out there. Even he knows this is terrible and should be destroyed. But there is no excuse for this. And for people who don't understand, when you're putting together this trade dress, you have to create the digital file for it. You're laying out the text. You're embedding. I mean, you have to be really dumb for this to happen because you have to take extra work in order
to undo it and redo it again. Not the same.
Yes, I like this. This is extra work for this to happen. And I mean, look at this Legion #6. The letters between the spacing, which we call the leading. For a geek term, between the L and the E and the G and I. Notice how it's spaced out more than all the other titles. The entire word has stretched. It's just if people with ADD, you're losing your mind right now. But I mean, this is just stupid, terrible.
Absolutely it is. So here's another one.
Yeah.
Another, you got this Charlie's War collection.
Sure.
Every one of them has a flower, but volume 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fuck volume 3.
Apparently.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny you show that Zenith right there with the Z. There's we've seen this before. They did it with Batman where they had the Batman symbol in the same way as that Z kind of is supposed to be copied over. And one of the issues, again, right in the middle, just randomly puts it up an inch. And it's like, you can't even succeed
Ruin
there.
the effect.
This is a job you give an intern designer to just not be stupid. And somehow they found a way. Here's
the problem, Perch. These books, these collections, these are our trophies.
Sure.
We're nerds. Maybe we're not going to win the trophy for, winning in baseball or maybe being the best wrestler in state, but we can have the coolest trade collection on the block.
Sure.
And this just ruins your trophy case.
It does, and I mean, it's certainly for you at home. It's lousy, but again, your goal is to sell these in theory. So in the bookshop, it's just it's a mess. Like you can't. You're supposed to have a nice organized place. I mean, I can I this stuff makes me insane, and I think on every level, it's absolutely terrible. And the problem is it's such an avoidable problem. It's so easy not to screw up like this. I mean,
This next one's great because this is the incredible expanding
yeah.
like logo.
I mean,
JLA just continuously gets bigger over time.
what are you gonna do? I like how the DC Comics all of a sudden on Volume 9's like, nah, we'll do this instead. Why in the world is this happening? It is again, you have a file that lays this out. You have to manually change that file or lose it and recreate it from scratch for no apparent reason to accomplish this level of stupid.
I've got something more stupid for you, Perch.
Yeah,
apparently
yeah,
what
yeah.
you just described happened in Rogue Trooper. They
Yeah.
lost the trade dress, recreated it, found it again for Volume 3.
Yeah.
It's not even the same color.
And then still kind of messed it up. Like I don't like what are you doing here? I mean, what in the world? I don't know. And look, we've talked before, and I know that there's the negative kind of internet side about people in comics don't care and all the rest. I think that's way overblown. It's people make too big a deal out of it. It's not true. It's not true. But this kind of stuff you can't argue against it. I can't stand here with a straight face and defend. It's like, no, this whoever did this is clearly somebody who cares about their job. I mean, granted, now the volume 3 and 4, they're thinner. So part of what's going on here is your volume 1 is thicker and 3 and 4 it gets smaller. So therefore everything's getting kind of shrunk up and all the rest. It doesn't have to be this way, but that's what's happening. But what is the volume 2 excuse? Like what? Let's just make this white for no reason.
Even the logo, you got like a skull logo on it instead of this red and black logo.
Well, they've inserted space there between Rogue and Trooper for no apparent reason, and I mean, just it's a different way to font. I mean, again,
2000 AD is in red instead of blue.
Yeah, I mean, what are you even doing? I understand it's nerdy to talk about leading and kerning and colors and all that kind of stuff, but you want consistency. This is terrible.
So let's get into a couple examples of manga kind of messing this up. We've got Dragon Ball Z. You can see the logo for the company has changed. The Viz Media logo changes one time in volume 2, and it goes back to another logo and for all the rest of the volumes.
It was an experimental phase for Viz. They wanted to kind of dip their toe in different waters. Yeah, I mean, keep them part of the problem here, and just to be fair, absolutely, manga has some of the same problem, but much less of it. Now, when the copies are brought over to the U.S. and reprinted here, oftentimes the U.S. in whatever lack of quality control infects these things, and they get worse. So there is a difference where
Viz Media is the one producing.
Yeah, the tankobons, they tend to do that, but and why they tend to get at least slightly better in Japan with tankobon type format is that they know that, and if you've ever seen any kind of shop selling manga, they have like 10,000 of these tankobons all crammed into a very small store, on the shelf. So, this kind of, clarity and making sure it looks good is really important. So they do tend to focus on, but mistakes still happen. This is, I don't know what's going on with volume 5. I mean, you can forgive the change at the top for Jump between 5 and 6 because, it changed its logo and over time, okay. But what's going on with Viz there at the bottom? Like it's always weird when it goes back.
Yeah, but the picture works. Throughout the 11 volumes.
Yeah,
so at least they got that part right.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about one that it doesn't work for. This is for Akira.
Yeah.
My goodness, this destroys your ADD right here. Why is volume 1 not lining up with all the other volumes?
Yeah, well, they shoved an extra picture in there, but no, I mean 6 has 4 too. I don't know. Again, why is this happening?
So it's not just U.S. comics. It is not. Manga's got this issue as well. from
It
time
does.
to time.
It does. It absolutely. I mean, every care for the volumes and the collections should matter wherever you are in the world. And to be also fair, European comics tend to just use the shotgun approach of whatever works. So there's even more difference there. But
So this last example will lead us into kind of another topic, but I have to show this one because I know this absolutely drives Doc insane. Obviously, he's a friend of the channel. The Invincible logo, yellow in all the trades, except for was it number
9,
9, where it's red.
Yeah, and yes, so I think clearly a mistake. There was some reason. I remember this coming up, and there was like a no prize like explanation, like that one was extra bloody or something. But no, it's a mistake. And the problem is, in addition to being red, it's now almost unreadable. I mean, that's the other problem. So
you can't really pick it out. Now let's talk about these Invincible traits.
Yeah,
we've got a big cartoon that's out right now.
Yeah,
doing very well. The stories of Invincible are in demand. We've had the season finale. People aren't ready to give up on the story yet. There are trades out there that contain the continuation of the story.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy them.
They're tough. Yeah, they they put some of them back out into print in time for the show. I don't think they anticipated the demand, so they clearly didn't. And now they've got some volumes out, and it is I mean it's a combo of victim of its own success, and there are they just don't have some of the material out. And go ahead.
It's crazy. You'd think, Robert Kirkman is not just a writer. He's not just the head of Skybound. He's one of the executives at Image.
Mm-hmm.
He can probably get these things moving, right? He can say, we need to get some prints on these omnibuses, these trades. They're all continuations of the stories that are going to be in Invincible season number 1. I'm anticipating or expecting that this is going to be a big hit, and it's time to make some money.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, this is a problem always. I do think Kirkman and Skybound do a better job. Walking Dead did a reasonable job of having their stuff out. I think Invincible, there are some volumes. The compendiums are out and available. They've got those. They seem to be struggling a little bit with the format. This is my own crazy conspiracy theory, but I wouldn't be surprised if being produced through Amazon, if they aren't trying to preference the Kindle versions and some of the other things where maybe they make a little bit more money, because those are all available, no problem. So I do wonder a little bit about that, but it is right now you can get you can get the compendiums out. You can get kind of the first version. So there's several that are out, but not all. I wish the world was doing it as poorly as Kirkman did, if that makes any sense. Because I mean, if you hop on over to Marvel, I mean, Falcon Winter Soldier, completely those runs are out of print, available. Yeah, and they went through this.
WandaVision, same thing,
and so fortunately, they are putting some Wanda Scarlet or WandaVision type trade out in August, and there's one for Captain America Winter Soldier Bucky in late July that comes out. So it's just very terrible timing. But here's something for you to think about, and I love it if your listeners could give their thoughts in the comments as well. The Invincible trades have sold really, really well. And whatever is available is selling out. It's created a wonderful run on back issues and all that kind of stuff. It's been great. The Amazon Prime version of this show released the episodes kind of one a week. So it stretched it out to build kind of the momentum of everything else. And we saw a nice, healthy run on the comics. We're about to see Jupiter's Legacy. It comes out in just a few days, basically on Friday. And like Netflix's approach, all those episodes are dropping all at once. You're getting them all on the same day. Now, I think Jupiter's Legacy will see a run on trades. I think that people will run and try and grab that copy, that comic and everything else. But I'm curious if it has the same power as Invincible did. And The Boys had the same thing that happened to it. If you stretch out the show, does that build anticipation and momentum for people going to buy those back issues and get those comics? Because
I think it almost has to, because there are some people that can't wait.
Yes.
And if they know that material is available in another medium, they're willing to go out and find it because they have to know what happens next.
Right. That's my
and
feeling.
experience it. Yeah.
That's my feeling. So I'm curious if we see, I love just being able to watch when I want. So I like the binge model, but I'm curious if the binge model is hurting sales to some extent.
Well, I mean, Umbrella Academy is released binge style, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and those trades, I think they've sold, what is it, like 300,000 trades in the last 2-3 years?
They did. But there were also that first season, there was plenty more material to cover. So, so I'm curious if this is something I just want to see the data. I want to see how it comes out over time. And I'm curious to know if you slow down the release of the show, if you get better results in back issues and trades. I'm curious to see some cause and effect there. We couldn't run that experience with Marvel because they sucked and they didn't have their comics out.
I bet it does because back in the day, before I was an avid comic reader, I would see an MCU movie maybe when they first started out, or maybe see a show that I knew was based on a comic book. And if I was interested, I would let's go find Wikipedia. Let's see what's going on here. Is there more to this story? And kind of search out that information. And I imagine I'm not the only one that if you see something you like and you can't wait to see what's next, you kind of gotta go look for those spoilers.
Exactly. And shows like Jupiter's Legacy, which does have a pretty good twist and some other things involved in it. If you're able to binge it, does that reduce your interest to run out and buy the comics? I'm very curious to see what the results are. But
yeah, it should be very interesting. We've got a lot of big successes here, and hopefully people are learning from the Marvel mistake, and maybe even I would consider a mistake on Image's part to not be ready for the momentum of the series. Now, unfortunately, what's going to happen is somebody's going to be ready. The show's going to stink or bomb. Nobody's interested in it, and then they're just going to lose a bunch of money.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of happened with DC and Birds of Prey last year. They had a decent amount of material all queued up, and the interest didn't carry over.
Yeah, there's a couple of new series that they had queued up there. There's some collections out. I kind of forgot about that one, but I forgot about Birds of Prey because it was such a bad movie.
There you go. Yeah. I don't know. That's. I mean, you got to have your stuff ready though in general, and when you're getting it ready, for the love of God, just do less work and clone your previous file and just make it fit. Don't. What a terrible.
Just collect the comic books in order. Stop breaking them up into stories. You can do that here and there with really important stories. Just break them up like they do manga and just do it in order.
Yes.
Because it sucks that you don't, like, for a new reader, you don't even know where to go. Maybe if you saw Under the Red Hood, the animated movie, where do you go next for the comic book? I wouldn't even know, and I'm a comic book reader.
No, it's awful. And I mean, you need to make it simple. The people who are coming into the bookshop who are wanting these things, there's collectors. That's great. You probably already have their money, but you want new money. And so you want somebody to be able to come in, look at that shelf and look for the number 1 next to Spider-Man and take it home. And that's all you want. So.
Yeah. I mean, Detective Comics should be on volume, 200?
Sure.
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. You just make it easier for your customers and pick a format and stick with it. Like if you go to a Barnes & Noble and you look at the US bookshelf and you see 800 different sizes and formats and shape, I mean, it's like your shelf looks like an absolute mess.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. I enjoyed looking at those pictures. I thought a lot of them were funny, but it is a big problem.
Yes.
It's uninviting. That's the big problem, Perch. As a customer, when you go and see that, it's uninviting. You don't even know where to go.
It's uninviting, and you're not helping people find your comics.
Yeah, but there's certainly interest. There's a lot of interest right now in comic book stories, and I think through trades, graphic novels, hardcover collections, they could really capitalize on this stuff if they kind of got their shit together and started planning a little bit better and understanding where the interest is actually going to lie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, people want this stuff. Absolutely, the audience is there.
All right, Perch, thank you very much. Do you have anything else to say on this? We had a little bit of fun at the beginning. We talked a little bit more serious there at the end.
Yeah. No, I welcome anybody. Do this experiment for yourself. Head to a bookstore, look at the shelf. You'll quickly see the problem. It's one of those rare things in comics where, regardless of what you like, what your opinion is on anything, you can look at this shelf and any objective person can say, okay, that there's a problem here. It's a mess, and this isn't going to attract new people. So let's get that fixed. It's not the hardest thing. Won't cost you any money. Very easy.